Take a look at this, RC drivers. ProBoat has a new recoil too, and here's 3 things that you need to know about it. Number 1, it's ready to run. I mean, completely ready to run. It even comes with AA batteries for the radio system. Number 2, it's brushless, so it's gonna be pretty quick. It's boasting about 35 miles an hour on the box art over there, so we're gonna test that out. And number 3, it's self-righting, and not the type where it's got to fill up with water to roll over. It self-rights with a really cool looking piece that, well, I'll show you later. Let's take a closer look at this thing. Doesn't this boat look absolutely wicked? Way better than the sunshine colors of the previous version. Not to really knock it because it was a fun boat, but these new versions look sick. This is the Shreddy version, and they have another version with the Heatwave logo on there. Both of these boats are licensed, so this is the Shreddy Life. They worked with them to create these logos, and then the same with Heatwave. Really killer looking boat. Now, this is an ABS hull painted on the outside, and man, I love these graphics. In fact, I think I'm gonna head over to Shreddy right now, maybe grab myself a hat from their website. But let's get deeper into this thing. Again, ABS hull, the canopy screws down on the top, so it creates a nice tight seal against the foam padding here. There's even foam under the canopy, so if this thing falls in the water for some reason, it will float. But let's just flip it over really quick so you guys can see the bottom. You know, nice lines on the bottom. The only thing I would suggest to you is don't run this thing up on shore. Try not to, because it is painted, and the hull itself is a white. So if you run it up on shore, it's gonna scratch, and I have unfortunately already scratched mine. So, you know, you can learn from me. All right, now let's check out the back of this boat, the business end of it, and we're seeing a lot of aluminum here. We've got an aluminum turn fin and trim tab combo. You can go and adjust the trim tabs just by hand if you want to adjust the ride of the boat. Looks like we got a nice aluminum strut, aluminum bracket for the strut, aluminum propeller, which is really cool, and flex shaft going up through the nylon tube and stuffing tube there. Over here, aluminum rudder, really nice looking, and it does have an aluminum bracket as well, and a shear screw. So everything you would want in a fun boat, including water cooling. Here's the water cooling tube. The pickup is down at the bottom. Really like the shape of the rudder itself. Nice, it's cut nicely. Looks like a decent looking prop on there. And these are just your basic trim tabs. So, it will keep the boat stable. Other things to throw at you, we've got the drain plug there, and we do have a nice rubber boot on the steering rod there. So good stuff out back. Now let me show you the inside of the boat, and we've got a pretty simple setup in here. There is foam flotation up front. They've got the modular plate in there at the bottom, glued down to the bottom of the hull, and that secures all of your necessary hardware. So let's start off up here, obviously with the motor, because this looks killer, this Outrunner. It's from Spectrum, it's a 2300 kV, and you'll notice this little round black disc on the front. That is a weight, that's the weight for your self-righting. So the inertia from that, once you blip the throttle, will actually go and spin this boat over. So that's why you don't need any sort of tunnel to fill up like other boats have out there. This boat is small enough and fast enough and quick enough, has enough torque that it'll just flip itself over with that weight system. Really cool. Then the motor is mounted to a nice aluminum motor plate. I like that, which is also water cooled. You can see the tubing running through it. And then it's got your basic collet setup. Looks like a 5mm shaft on that motor. And then down, the flex shaft looks like it's greased from the factory. Make sure you pay attention to maintenance on that. As you run the boat, you will need tools to go and take that apart and some grease. All right, the modular plate is composite, and it runs all the way to the back there. You can see the servo mounted to it, and it's screwed down, which is really cool. Let me just jump into the steering. The steering itself is a standard servo, and it's got this nice arm on it now. I mean, how many boats have we seen out there with your generic plastic arm? Really cool that we got something substantial there. And then up in front here, we have a 100 amp Spectrum speed controller. Look at the size of that thing. Lots of heat sink area for the water to go through. So that'll stay cool. And then right behind it back there is the receiver, and I'll spin it around so you guys could see the battery location. There it is right there. The foam pad is already on the bottom, Velcro strap to secure the pack. And there's plenty of room to move that battery forward and back to adjust the weight bias of the boat. But it does come with this 3200 milliamp 11.1 volt Spectrum pack. Really cool. And of course, it's fitted with the IC3 plug. We've got an IC3 plug here on the speed controller as well. And actually, I've already talked to you about the other electronics in there. So let's move on to the radio. This is the radio that we saw in the tugboat, which at first I actually wasn't a fan of, but you know what? It does work well. It looks a little toyish, but it does work well. And you know what? Since we're here, we're gonna do this. Ready? There we go, so satisfying. All right, the other thing that it comes with is obviously this charger here. It's a USB charger, but it is a balance charger. It plugs in with the IC3 plug and the balance leads there. So for a basic charger, this will get you going. And there are AA batteries for the transmitter, as I mentioned before. All right. Man, we got to get out and test this thing. Actually, one more thing. It comes with the stand, so you can go display it nice when you're done, you know, with your day of boating. All right, enough talking, Greg. Let's head outside and just rip this thing through the water. All right, drivers, let's rip the Recoil 2 around this pond here. I've already got the stock battery pack through it, and I'm running a 5,000 milliamp Spectrum pack now, 11.1 volt. And this thing is pretty quick. It gets out of the hole really fast. I was a little concerned about that with the weight on there, but it gets out of the hole quick. And this is fast for a small boat. It's very responsive. Once that hull gets up out of the water, it just it's a little darty in the corner, so you got to be careful. I actually turned down the dual rate just a little bit, just get rid of that, some of that darty feel. But you just got to be smooth on the steering. But it's so much fun, and it does self-right. I mean, I haven't been able to flip it over yet. Actually had to just manually flip it over to test it. But once you punch the throttle, it just spins right over, so the self-righting completely works with that weighted motor. Look at this thing. It looks so cool on the water. All right, guys, time to speed test the boat. The water is a little rough, but let's see what we can do here. We got 12 satellites. Hit the start button. Throw that down. And launch this thing. I like this boat. All right, let's give it a rip here. Into the wind. And then we'll come back with the wind. Boat looks good out there. All right, we'll bring it back. We gotta see what the speed is. All right, hit the stop button. Read 35 miles an hour, just like the box stated. All right, let's just do a little bit more running here. This thing looks good. A little edgy still. I got the battery all the way back, but that thing gets right up and out of the water. Love it. Look at that. Much better than that little pond I was in. Nice big space to let this thing rip. Nice job, ProBoat. All right, now we'll head back to the workshop and wrap up this review. You know, I really love hitting the water with an RC boat. It's a nice change of pace from running RC cars, and the Recoil 2 did not disappoint. Had a lot of fun with it over there in the pond, but actually had more fun with it where I speed tested it. That was a open lake, and you know, this thing just really loves the space where you could open it up and just do wide sweeping corners and just have fun at full throttle. And the boat is pretty quick, as you guys saw. It goes 35 miles an hour. It handles really well on the water, so much so that I wasn't able to flip it over just by cranking on the steering at full throttle. It'll just kind of spin out on you, but it won't roll. The only time I think you could roll this thing is if you're driving where there's some other full-scale boats going by and you jump this thing off their wake or something like that. Maybe you would flip it then, but it's a really stable boat. And the self-righting does work. It works really well. Just blip the throttle and it spins right over for you and you keep on going. As I mentioned, the steering is a little darty feeling. I had to dial down on the dual rate. Maybe that's a little bit because of the weight of the motor, the inertia in there. It wants to, you know, twist the boat as you're going. But again, just find yourself some wide open space, give this thing full throttle, and it is an absolute blast. There was no water in the hull when I was done with it, and I actually did go and hit a rock in the water, and the breakaway rudder system did its job. I actually found out that it's slotted at the lower screw, the shear screw, so it just kind of slides out. That screw does strip out a little bit, so you'll have to replace if it does happen to you. But the thing that did happen that I wasn't too big of a fan of was the shaft on the easy connector snapped off. It's a really thin, small threaded piece, and I wound up digging through my stuff, found an easy connector with an 1/8 inch post on it and a locking nut that I used. Had to drill out the rudder mount a little bit to go and use that. But other than that, the boat is great. I have no issues with it. Absolutely fun. And again, this color combo looks absolutely killer. Let me know what you think about it in the comments section below. I'll have links down there as well. Hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell. Throw the video a like, and we'll see you back soon for some more RC Driver videos.